1 minute. God, I'm on dancing shoes here. Yes, we're going into 11.6, page 100. 102 actually, it's 104 and 104 on my sheets, 102. Welcome, Jeremy and Caroline. I think we're just waiting 1 minute. Oh, we're on? Okay, welcome, Jeremy and Caroline. So we've got 11.6 ahead of us. We take the report as read, unless you've got any highlights you'd like to give us.
So the only thing I would mention is that we took the direction from the briefing, which was around the zero increase. 3 of the 4 had proposed very small changes anyway, which I think we saw in that briefing. One of them was larger, and we just created the opportunity for you to think through what those changes were and then tell us whether we're sticking with 0 or there's a 0 except for, and that would go out in the letter of expectations. So there's nothing from our side promoting or otherwise. We're just putting the details in front of you to make sure that you can make a clear decision at this stage, and then obviously in that instance Bay Venues will respond through the SOI process in time.
Thank you. So any pātai for the staff? Councillor Taylor.
I'll ask Jeremy, but it might be Chair that has to answer the question. There was a little table here talking about the extra things that Bay Venues was looking for. One of the things there mentions closing Baywave for an extended period. So my question is, what happens to the staff during that extended period?
Oops, yep, still works. Kia ora, thanks for the question, Councillor Taylor. In terms of the closure at Baywave, just to be clear that that's a regular maintenance close that we do every few years through our facilities, and this one at Baywave is quite significant, so we are replacing a whole lot of the plant equipment. There are also skylights and various other things that need to be done. So staff will be either they'll take leave during that period or they'll be redeployed to other facilities over that time. So yeah, we manage around that during that period. So the extra deficit that's shown there has already had as many of those staff costs taken out as we can.
Councillor Crowther.
In regards to the 0.27 million annual facility painting for Bay Venues, it says offset by a reduction in renewals grant funding from the depreciation reserve. I still struggle to sort of understand all the implications of these two options, because in both cases Tauranga City Council is handing over that amount of money. But from a council point of view, what are the implications of taking it from the depreciation reserve as opposed to putting it into the OPEX budget directly? What's the reason for this switcheroony?
So as I understand it, the caveat, this is simply taking from one bucket and moving into a different bucket because of accounting treatment. So in the past, oh, there you go. He's got a better answer by the sounds of it.
That's right.
Told me it's okay.
Yeah, so in the past, painting has been treated as capital, and I think council has traditionally had that approach up until maybe recently. And so now the view is that painting should be treated as an operating expense rather than as a capital expense. So this had been budgeted previously as capital, but now that it needs to be via accounting treatment, considered operating costs, we're just moving the budget across to account for that. So it's the same cost, it's just a different way of dealing with it. So it'll show up as an extra cost here, but there's a saving on the renewal side of the budget.
Follow up then with the CE, seeing we don't have a CFO at the moment. Does that mean council-wide painting of and maintenance of facilities or aspects of maintenance has been treated as a capital cost? And is this a council-wide decision to change from that methodology? And is it not operating expenditure of a capital nature if it is capital?
Yeah, typically that would be renewal capital expenditure across council. And as far as I'm aware, that's the way we're treating that type of activity.
I'd personally like, if my colleagues are willing, like a short, very short report as an action point, sort of just have a very, like the sort of one-page version of how wide a scope this issue extends to, when the changes have been or will be made, and what the logic was for treating what most businesses would say would be, as I understand, operating as capital, or even, you know, if it was operating to be, and it was capital, you'd expect it to be operating of a capital nature, I would have thought. But anyway, that would be my hope for action point out of this.
We got that action? We have that action. Thank you, Councillor Crowther. Any other questions? That being the case, thank you very much. We have got a resolution, or we can have a discussion prior to the resolution. Councillor Taylor would like to have a chat first.
It wasn't really a question, it's probably more a comment. So in the list of things that Bay Venue's looking for, one of them's an inflation adjustment. None of the other CCOs have mentioned that, and if we give it to Bay Venues, would they expect an inflation adjustment? I think the statement we've given them is that no increase. So that one particular item is in the Bay Venue request. I have concern with how it would apply to the others.
And certainly my understanding was that we did discuss it in the workshop, and we did recognise there are inflationary adjustments, but we're wanting those as cost savings, hence the zero. So zero is zero, not zero plus inflation across. That was my understanding, so I was a bit surprised seeing it in here. Councillor Taylor.
So I guess I'm happy to move as per the recommendation, other than that specific thing in the list for Bay Venues.
And that's fine, so we could put that as a approves, no, on the Bay Venues. Where would you put it as for wording? We've got somebody who's scribing.
If I understood it correctly, what you would need to do is under B1 would be to list annual phase painting, annual drowning prevention system, annual additional cost to keep QEYC open, net losses associated with closure, but not the sixth item. So there's a list of 5 items to go under B1, but not the sixth one.
Can you just do a copy paste?
And it would be helpful if you just noted that that was an additional 0 point, what's it going to be, 56 billion, so you can see what it adds up to.
We've got some odd language coming up here. We've got Russian. Be nice if you could just copy and paste out of Stella, but you can't.
I'll need to sort out what that issue is. So it's,
Do we have a seconder for that?
But in effect, it's 0.26, 0.2 something, because it's a payment transactional renewals.
Annual facility painting, I'll just read them out. Annual drowning prevention system. Was that the AI activity you wanted, the drowning prevention? Was that something we did see that? Did we actually approve that? Are we happy approving it now?
Just through you, Madam Chair, I'd suggest that any of these decisions with a financial implication need signing off through the annual report process anyway. The annual plan process.
Yeah.
So we can have this conversation and indicate, but ultimately it becomes a further council decision as to whether or not these items or which items are funded through the annual plan process.
Sorry, so just clarification, Marty, you're saying maybe take it out of here and just deal with the
Yeah.
letters of intent?
I think so. We can raise these issues through the annual plan process, and they can be considered item by item.
I'm happy then just to move item A. Is that the...
Good solution. Thank you.
Jeremy's frowning. Do you agree, Jeremy, or disagree?
He came in halfway through that, but I mean, the purpose of this is to set an expectation for Bay venues to respond to. So it's, if you've got an expectation around these things in or out, then I would say set it today.
I'm rather with the CE to say that we would like to do that as part of the annual plan discussion. And their response can be that we would like these things to be considered in the annual plan.
Yeah, and obviously Chad's been here for the discussion, so knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, we can manage that process. We can somehow make minor adjustments to this letter of expectation and ensure that these issues are picked up and discussed as part of the annual plan process.
Great. That makes a clearer resolution. So have we taken out the bit that... So B1 disappears. And you're comfortable, Councillor Taylor, moving that?
Take out B2. Yep.
Delete?
Subject to the following.
No, because that's...
Yeah.
Got a seconder for that. Councillor Carrick, thank you. Any discussion from the mover? Seconder? Any?
Just given the process that we went through to get here, I'm mindful of a discussion that you and I had, Deputy Mayor, about the power of actually having a one-on-one conversation when we're talking about these things. We get stuck in the process often, and I think we can actually make some headway by having direct conversations between the governors, and I think that's something for future that I'll be taking on board.
And I think I would absolutely second that and endorse that because, yes, we've found we do with Bay venues at operational level have a coffee every 6 or 8 weeks. Art Gallery Trust found that was also a much more useful, well, it was a useful, not more, it was a very useful way of making sure we are in, at this, you know, talking about the same things at the same level and without people interpreting what might happen here or on paper. And so there was a conversation that even we could have a less formal conversation about these letters before they actually go out formally. Is that what you would like to put as an action?
Yes, yeah,
If that's, is that something that would be agreed around the table or endorsed around the table, that it's a, that a conversation is had with each of the council-controlled organisations prior to them receiving the letter of expectation? Reasonably, yes?
Just noting you through the chair that these are public documents at the moment, so they will have access to them right now.
And that's fine. That's still, it still just gives you an opportunity, whether it's before or after, or maybe just that we have a less formal meeting as elected members with each council-controlled organisation to allow them to share any feedback with the letters of expectation.
Yeah, and that was mainly for going forward, I think, Jeremy, rather than, that was for the future processes rather than.
Did you get that? Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. I'm going to get your name right and not call you Roseboom. Councillor Roseboom.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Now, this is just a short comment on the process of the letters of expectation. We as a council have got multiple CCOs and we've consciously appointed professional boards to run them who engage with us and communicate with our staff on a regular basis. We had a workshop a couple of weeks ago just to discuss the letters of expectation, and I was perfectly happy with those letters of expectation as they stood. They are functioning entities that look after a lot of our council assets, and as such they have got basic cost of living issues. The cost of doing stuff in business is going up. So trying to force a zero out of them is a bit of a challenge for them, and it may have, and we may have inadvertently going to lose a level of service in some areas because of what we've done here. I'm hoping, and I'd make a request of all the boards of the CCOs to push back very strongly, make it very clear of what the potential losses are to the people of Tauranga by forcing this zero upon them. So my challenge to the boards is be direct and be blunt, and if you need a private conversation, I'm available. Thank you.
Councillor Carratha.
Sorry. Yeah, I echo that to some extent. I think that there's a sort of a balance here, and I acknowledge that the CCOs have been put under some financial pressure from what we're doing. But I guess for me, I'd like to flip it the other way and say, I hope we lead by example with our own annual plan, because if we can't, I've heard some of my colleagues say we can't even contemplate having an option for inflation. Well, we're not even giving inflation to the CCOs, so we're at risk of being very hypocritical here. I'm not saying we have to end up at inflation, but I think we need that option going out to our people to say, what level of service are you prepared to sacrifice to get to that point? And similarly, in the case of the CCOs, if they politely come back to us, I think I've got to say that Bay Venues have probably bowled us a googly here, and at one stage I thought we were going to get tripped up by it, but we played it back down the pitch, and we're sort of playing for time here to figure out where this all sits. But I do think other CCOs will probably be looking at this and going, right, you know, do they need to start taking this approach of extracting things from, because there may well be things that other CCOs have as well that are seen as a bit out of the ordinary. So I think we've got to be careful in both directions. Like, we have to trust the CCOs are going to be doing the very best they can, but particularly I have that concern that Councillor Roseboom has, that if there are things that are going to be sacrificed and we're not aware of it, that would not be good. And I think we've just got to get that balance just right, and that's going to take a bit of work, and hopefully we can have just clear communication around it.
Councillor Schuler.
As the famous Meatloaf said, Councillor Roseboom took the words right out of my mouth. No, not the next part of that. Yeah, look, I would like to echo Councillor Roseboom and to the CCOs. We're pushing hard. You are a key and critical part of the functioning of Tauranga. The levels of service that are provided and that the community expects. We know we've had a couple of recent incidents in BVL venues with regards to near misses in the water. Now, I'm not trying to draw a correlation between zero increase and those events, but we need to be cognizant and understand that our CCOs and BVL, I'll use these as an example, have got the best interests of the community at heart, are doing the best they can, and there is a level of service that we just cannot drop below. So while we're pushing, I'm happy to echo Councillor Roseboom's sentiment that the CCOs push back, and it is part of an ongoing, I do agree with you, Councillor Taylor, it is part of an ongoing communication relationship that we need to make sure we get right for everyone.
Did you want to finish off, Rod, as the mover?
No, I take Councillor Crowler's point too. There's definitely a balance there, and I think Bay Venue's probably got the leap on everybody else looking at this. So yeah, others will learn from that.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. I'll ask all of those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. Now we're on 11.7 bylaw review, which we've got Jeremy speaking to. Page 123. Well, about that. 121. Jeremy.
So we received a request just to outline where each of the bylaws was at in the review process, and the policies as well. The policies one will go to City Futures on next Tuesday, which is where most of those documents go to. And the bylaw one is here. It is what it is. There's a review date for each of them. That's what we're working to at the moment. And you'll notice that the blue ones are the ones which should be familiar with you because they're underway, or most of them are underway at the moment. The orange ones come next, and the blue ones, the light blue ones at the bottom, are well into the future at the moment, unless something comes up and you collectively tell us you want to bring that forward.
Thank you. And I did ask a question, and I haven't looked at my emails because I might have an answer. I just said it would be useful because we know that we have to review a bylaw 5 years after we implement it, and then after that every 10 years. And I couldn't see from these when when it was implemented to be able to see that timeline. So going forward, it'll be useful to have those dates, please, and when we're looking at bylaws.
Okay, I will send the email I sent to you to everybody else.
Yes, please.
Shortly.
Thank you. And I think this came up because we did seem to have a period of a number of bylaws coming up, and I thought we must have about 50 that we were looking after, and there's only 14. And generally they only have to be done every 5 or 10 years. And I was just wondering how come we got such a stack at one time. But it's something we're needing to do, so it's good to have this report. Any questions of Jeremy? There being no questions, we have a recommendation that the council receives the report by law review schedule. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Roseboom, Councillor Rolleston, any comment? I put that on the table. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. We're now going to 11.8, 125, page 125. And the petition fluoridation of water supply. Welcome, Peter. And Ranaka.
Te koutou katoa. So as you heard earlier from Mr. Coe, he presented a petition to Council on the 26th of August. This is a follow-up as to what Council would like to do in terms of actioning that, receiving that petition and following up. So the recommendation is either to write a letter to the Director General and General Manager of Ministry of Health, or choose not to do that. But that's effectively, there's no staff recommendation, this is a council decision. So yeah, just following up on that petition.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Any discussion amongst ourselves before we need to make a decision on this one? Councillor Taylor.
I'll start. So I've got a couple of concerns with this. One is the petition, and I think I've mentioned this in previous meetings. A large number of the petitioners are from out of our city. Some of them are out of our country. They're in other parts of the world. So yeah, the validity of the numbers gives me cause for concern. Even so, there's still a significant portion of the population here that thinks this is a good idea. So I go back to Rob presented earlier, and I've had a good discussion with him about the things that have changed in the 12 months since we last sent a letter to Wellington on this. I don't know that I've got a good answer from him. There's obviously new studies all the time, all around the world, but he hasn't given me solace that something significant has changed that will affect the government's stance on this. So I'm not really that supportive that we go again on this. It's only 12 months since we did it last time, and we got a negative reply last time. So I'd probably be holding back on the letter.
And just on that, I think it's really good to have the location of the people on the petition, so that change was is appreciated. Thank you. I think Councillor Roseboom was... Councillor Crowther.
Yeah, I guess I see it as a bit different to Councillor Taylor because, number one, this is us being asked explicitly by a significant number of people to represent their views, and we do that a lot in a lot of issues for councils, and it doesn't mean we all have to agree with the view. So that's the first point. The second point is that we haven't asked for explicitly what this letter would ask for. So the full public inquiry, which is echoing some other councils and other entities that have been asking for that kind of thing. And thirdly, you know, having looked into it just a bit, and I certainly wouldn't want to say this would be the only reason to do it, but the evidence does seem to be increasing rather than decreasing in that direction. And that, you know, the one analysis that he mentioned is an example of where you do get some quite interesting reading out of it, which other areas of the world have used to change their policy settings. And I think this is really just saying, can we represent our people the best we can to advocate for their position, to go to central government and say, can you actually do another review of this? It's not saying what the outcome of the review should be, but it's suggesting that I think it's pretty clear that some of the evidence, if not a lot of the evidence they have used and refused to kind of really comment on, has now been quite clearly shown to be not fit for purpose. So I think it's trying to say to them, that has been debunked internationally. You've quoted it in what you've used to justify the policy settings that you've got at the Ministry of Health. Can you now come up with a new set of justifications for those policy settings? And we're not trying to be the judge or jury on that. We're just saying, can we represent that view and encourage them to do that? It certainly wouldn't do any harm, I would think, and could well do a lot of good, no matter what they find, in either direction.
Councillor Roseboom.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I definitely support sending the letter, so I'm recommending that we support A, B, C and D. My stance on this has been clear, and it's been clear for some time. I do not support fluoridation of drinking water. There's enough fluoride already available through tablets and in toothpaste, and no one's clearly given me an answer on putting it in water. Are we actually double dosing our kids? It's our children that I'm more concerned about. I've lived a good life. If I die a few years early, no one's going to miss me. But our youth and the potential of brain development in our young people due to excessive fluoride is well documented in the multiple scientific reports. Also, incidences of kids overdosing on fluoride because they actually have it in their water and they swallow their toothpaste and they get ill through fluoride overdose. we need to be very mindful of the health of our young people, because that is the future of our country. So all things being considered, my reading on the state of fluoride in water has actually indicated to me that the problem is getting worse, not better, around the world. More and more countries are opting not to put it in their water. Why we cannot or will not as a country have an open debate on this is concerning. MPs in Wellington will not even engage in this conversation to be better informed on the effects of fluoride in water on our young people. So any attempt or any opportunity to seek the Director General of Health to open this box and have another good look at it, and the scientific evidence available to her would occupy her for an entire year if she wanted to read all of it. So I definitely support sending the letter.
Councillor Couric.
As a supporter of fluoride, if added at safe levels and creates no harm, in the past, I do actually support another letter being sent just to prove the case that it is safe. And I think Councillor Crowther, who said that there's no harm in sending a letter, but potentially some good could come out of it, is the reason why we should all support it. I think we should also consider adding reference to the two documents that Robert Coe suggested in the public forum, and also he asked for something else, wasn't there? Does anyone recall his other request? That he potentially could have some input in it before sending it. Is that right? Yeah. No, not so much. But I think if the council do support it, I think reference to those two documents would be helpful.
Councillor Morris.
Thanks. Speak to it now, if I may. Support sending the first part of the letter around the inquiry, because I think there's sufficient evidence needs to be considered publicly. In terms of the suspension of the direction, we've already asked that question, and the answer has come back from the then director, no. So it's kind of asking the same question again. So the fact is they will say no again. So I think and it may help some of my other colleagues get over the line on sending the letter if it is directed more at the public inquiry rather than removing the fluoridation requirement, which we've already got an answer to.
Councillor Schuler.
Yeah, I should say thank you to Councillor Morris. Again, similar to my last sentiment. This one's an interesting one for me. I voted to introduce fluoride, and certainly while I understand around the table there's different views, as there was on that day, it was a close vote. I do feel that we're going back and asking the same question very soon afterwards. So hearing Councillor Morris, in principle, if there is grounds and we could, something to help the New Zealand public could come out of an inquiry into fluoridation, I wouldn't stand in the way of that if that was the will of this room. But the status quo should remain, I feel, with the current water supply as it is, have we've chosen. So I would not support B2 and would ask that that be voted on separately. Thank you.
I don't think there's probably any harm in sending the letter, but I don't support an independent public inquiry just for the cost of that to taxpayers. I also would like to suggest that it doesn't say, with a petition signed by over 1,100 people, that number has subsequently increased when we know that 40% of them were not from Tauranga. So to me, it sort of goes against what we're suggesting is what we should be doing. And I probably I'd be happy to add a reference or a request that that we get a confirmation from the Deputy General of Health that all of the recent research that has been global research that the decision is not an earlier decision should not be reversed because of new research or because of information that has come out in the last year. So really just to say for her to confirm that she has looked at the research and doesn't want to make a decision change because of that research. So she's committing to the research, having read the research and taken that into account in the decisions. But so it'd just be, we've received the petition, but I think putting that it's 1,100 people and going up when we know some of them are overseas and half of them don't live in Tauranga. Yeah, public inquiry. Well, public inquiry, that it's, you know, we're trying to do value for money. Do we really think that that sort of 300,000 probably that gets put on a public inquiry, if not more, is a good taxpayer expense if we're trying to be affordable?
In terms of the way forward, perhaps if A to D is moved and seconded, and then put B1 and 2 separately. Yeah.
Sorry, I just got thrown out of Stella, so I'm just going to come back. Have you had it too? That's the second time for me. She's nearly there. So what are we suggesting that we could, there is a recommendation.
I've already indicated I'm happy to move A, B, C and D.
A, B, C and D.
And request put B1 and 2 separate.
I'm happy for that, but I need a second.
Yep.
We'll just get that.
Are we happy to put that whole resolution to the floor?
B1 and 2 separate.
Okay, so,
A, C and D as one.
but let's just do, okay, we've got, let's put A on the floor. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. No, just A. Receives the report. Okay, we've got B1 and 2. B1. So we've got aye. Raise your hands, please. Against?
Only yourself.
Just me.
Yeah. Oh, and councillor correct.
Public inquiry. In support, yes, so it's only me against. So that the council approves the attached draft letter to the Ministry of Health and Director General of Health and Chief Executive Ministry of Health? Oh, B2, sorry. That the council sends the letter asking for the direction of fluoride to fluoridate Tauranga's water supply to be suspended. All those in favour? Roseboom, Crowther. And against? Morris, Schuler, Schooler, Kurak, Taylor, Rolliston. That's lost. Approves the attached draft letter with changes to the Ministry of Health, Director General of Health and Chief Executive Ministry of Health. All those in favour? Against? That the council delegates the mayor authority to make minor edits to the attached letter on behalf of council. All those in favour? Carried. Okay. We're now going into 11.9, page 132. Transport Resolution Report number 58. Hi, Karen. And Mike. I'm going to take the paper as read, unless there's anything that's changed in the meantime or you would like to highlight. Thank you very much. Any questions of staff? Councillor Roseboom.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. This is just a procedural one. So we've passed one of these not long ago, and I'm still waiting for a couple of those changes to appear on the road. So how long does it take for you to work through these to actually implement them?
Through you, Madam Chair, there's a backlog probably of about $150,000 worth of these bits of work, and we send them to the contractor in packages that get priced. So on average, 2 to 3 months, and if it's longer, happy to follow that up for you.
We've got a mover, Councillor Kurak, and a seconder, Councillor Roseboom. We've got no, the mover's not wanting to comment, the seconder.
I only had one question, it's been answered, so I'm happy to carry on.
Fantastic. Any other discussion? That being the case, I put this motion, which is on the board. Aye. No, it hasn't gone up yet. I put this motion to the floor. All those in favour, please say aye. 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 And against, that is carried. Thank you. Can we finish this one?
There were no late items.
Yeah, so just there were no discussion, number 11, no, there's no late items to bring forward. So we're now going to move back to public excluded. I'll have a moved by Councillor Rolleston, seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. That is carried. We're now